Hi, Granny Zanny here with another adventure in the Chronicles. To begin with, you've got to remember that Granny Zanny was raised by Southern Baptist fundamentalists in West Texas, from West Texas. Granny's always lived in Texas, except for a little bit in Oklahoma and 3 weeks in Cali. Skip that part. Had strict Southern Baptist parents. She was a straight all-American girl next door. She was in Who's Who in American Drill Team. She was very successful. She knew she wanted to be a doctor, so she applied and got accepted to Baylor University. But after 1 year at Baylor, which is where Granny got into drugs and alcohol, I ended up going to University of Houston, Angela State University, stuff like that. But after a year at Baylor, they had indicated they didn't really think I was a suitable candidate. I kind of didn't show up at classes, and at one final, accidentally, that I went to take, I was dating this guy that had gotten a hold of these sheets he had stolen from Eckerd's. There used to be a pharmacy, like a Walgreens, huge, called Eckerd's, and they had stolen a bunch of sheets of pharmaceutical purple LSD 25 acid, and I dropped a lot of that acid, and that'll really fry your brain. And I went in to do a creative writing final on the only class I had a decent grade in, English, so I'm good at that, and ended up getting an F because I was still tripping. And so as I started to write my paper, I started being able to actually see the ink flow out of the pen. And so I doodled circles for 2 hours and turned it in. And she actually ended up failing me, even though that grade's not supposed to count that much. But I think she thought I was disrespecting her, or she knew I was absolutely just on it. And at Baylor, they don't tolerate. You're not supposed to do anything. Southern Baptists do not drink alcohol or use tobacco. However, we're allowed to have caffeine. We're a little bit more free than the Mormons. So let me tell you about going from that person to this other person. Life goes on, things happen. There was a momentous event in my life where custody of my children, I was stripped of custody of my children by my rich, powerful parents. And so I was betrayed from every direction. I was orphaned immediately and no longer a mother. And that was rough. I went crazy. Okay, this brings us to the fairy tale for tonight. Alright, so I hook up for 10 years. Don't ask me why, it just works out that way sometimes, with this guy named Sean. Now picture Sean as surfer, pretty boy, good looking, built 6'2", Adonis, blonde, beautiful man. Arrogant, oh my God. But, that's alright. He did it as hard as I did it. He was crazy as I was, so it was like, alright, you need a partner in crime. There was a lot of dangerous stuff we were doing. This stuff was happening in Houston. This was not in some little city. Alright. Sean was a construction foreman, and so he was always, having crew guys over, or he'd be late because he was with crew guys, or we'd be partying with crew guys, and we did lots of substances and lots of things, and had a lot of fights and between he and I, stuff like that. He hit me a few times, all that, just stuff to be expected when you're living that lifestyle. Anyway, he had a new guy working for him, some guy, dude, from Kentucky, and him and his old lady had come, and it was a Friday, and Sean had ghosted work that day and gone over and hung out with that dude at his house all day, and his old lady was at work, and I was at work. I worked at Exxon. Picture this. I worked at Exxon. And so I get a phone call from him after quitting time. He's passed out checks, and he says, come get him, he's too drunk to drive. And I'm all pissed off and angry, and I curse him out, and I say, all right, I'll come over there and get you, don't get a DWI. So I drive across 610 and I-45 in Houston 5 o'clock traffic up to like North I-45 Greens Point area. And so I go in, I meet this guy, he's a nice guy. I sit down on the couch, Sean's there, the lady's not home from work yet. We just sit and visit, and I know from past experience that when Sean tells others about me, he always makes me into the bad guy. They're always surprised to find out that I'm actually a really nice person and that he's the liar. But anyway, so this guy's kind of finding this out. They had a pit bull. Pit bull was fine with me. I'm fine with the pit bull. Everybody's happy. Okay, I've never left the couch. I didn't go to use the restroom, nothing. I've only been there 15 minutes max. Alright, so now at this time in Houston, because of what I was going around and doing, which was I was on crack cocaine, and I was in the throes of severe alcoholism, I always carried 2 knives showing, and I carried a cop baton in my boot, and another knife in my other boot. That's why I say 2 knives showing. So anyway, I go over, I'm at this chick's house. She comes home from work, and we all meet. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? She goes back to her bedroom. She comes back out, and she says, who stole my weed? And I'm like, not me. I ain't even, and I said, not me. I ain't even moved off the couch. And my old man, Sean, is the one that threw me under the bus. And he goes, I didn't do it, she did it. Right? So that lady comes and stands right over me. She's saying, like, you took my weed? And that dog then stands up next to her. That's her dog. If y'all understand pits, that's her pit. So he's sensing her aggressive attitude, right? As all we are. His bristles are up. I want away from the dog is what I want away from. I don't want to fight. I'm not trying to fight. I'm not a fighter. I'm little. I'm 5'4". At that time, I probably weighed $110. I'm 125 now, But when I'm out running the streets, I'm $110, $107. But I hit real hard. I've heard. So anyhow, so that girl stands up, and I said, no. I said, I haven't done it, and that dog is just, I said, look. I said, can we take this out on the porch and talk about it? Now, I wasn't saying it like in the movies, can we take this outside, right? I was like, can we go out away from the dog? Because as soon as she gets, that dog's going to jump, right? The dog, right? Well, she thought that was the, old cowboy invitation, let's take it outside. The guys are thinking this is funny at this point, a cat fight, right? Okay, as soon as I walk out the door, she's right behind me. The dog does stay inside. She's right behind me. I have long hair. Now, I'm flying from my Jeep. I've got to go down it. She lives on the 2nd floor. And I'm flying from my Jeep. I've got a key fob to unlock it. I'm hitting the alarm. And I'm trying to get to my Jeep. She's got me by my long hair. And she's screaming. She's running away. She's running away. I get away from her. I'm trying to get to my Jeep because I've got a weapon. The baton wasn't in my boot. I didn't know. I wasn't looking for trouble. It was in the side thing, right when you open your car door, right there where you can get it. I was trying to get to that car door. And so she's running away. I had unlocked it. I've flung that car door open. I reached in. I grabbed that baton. I crack it. And she's got me by the hair again. She come up behind me. And I did not try to hit her in the head. Because I've learned that lesson just from fooling around. You whack yourself, and those things are really hard. So what I thought, my plan was, I start whacking her knee. I was whacking it as hard as I could. I'm whacking, because I want to whack her knee. If I can get her down on the ground, I do got my boots on, I'm going to start kicking her. I'm going to kick her in the back, in the kidneys. I'm going to make her pee blood for a week. Right? The only reason I'm doing this is to make her stop. My dad told me a long, long time ago, my dad's a huge man. He's 6'5". He is a grizzly bear, right? And so I always was like, well, Dad, I guess that when anybody tried to mess with you, you just have to, be the good guy, and you can't do anything, because if a little guy, he's like, Xander, are you kidding? He said, if you ever in your life, thinking I never would, get in a street fight, he said, there is no such thing as a dirty fight. He said, you end it as soon as you can. So that's all I'm trying to do. End the fight, make her stop. She will kick my butt. She's missing front teeth from fighting. She's got arms. She's got guns. This girl knows how to fight. She's been in them. I ain't. I've been in a few where it was like what I just told you about. I'm fighting to get you to stop so I can get away. Right? I've never actually gone to where I kept on trying to hurt nobody. Anyway, at the time the weapons came out and stuff, well, then the guys start trying to separate us. They get us separated. I told Sean right then, I said, if you want to ride, my friend, I said, you get in this Jeep right now, because I said, it's leaving. And while I was waiting for him at the job site, before he had told me he was over at this apartment complex basically across the street, I was waiting for him at a 7-Eleven. I was sitting there and I was playing the radio. Meet Virginia by Train came on. It was brand new. This was like 98 or something. And it was like, Meet Virginia. So this kid, this 21-year-old good-looking kid, pulled it up, and I was probably 42 something. Anyway, this kid, 40. This kid pulls it up, and I was like, turn it up, crank it up, what station is that on? I want to put mine. So we're like, he gets my number. After Sean pisses me off, I went and called that kid. We hung out all night, didn't do anything, because he's a kid, and he was in, I'm not saying that I don't like candy. Who doesn't like candy? But he was just a 21-year-old kid, And so we just hung out. We went over to his house where he lives with his uncles. I met his uncles, And that was the story of Granny Zanny's baton fight.